Now, the presidency has reacted to former President Olusegun Obasanjo's endorsement of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity to the President, Garba Shehu, in response to the ex-president, says in a statement that Obasanjo would naturally stop at nothing to attack the person of Buhari because of his track records. According to the presidential spokesman, Obasanjo is famed for being jealous, hence attacks anyone who beats him to a new record in the nation's development process. Shehu said President Buhari stands miles ahead of the former president in all fields of national development, adding that President Buhari had just completed the world-class edifice that is the second Niger Bridge after 3 decades of failed promises. Well, we're joined by Arise analyst Kayode Otitoju to discuss the battle that has been characterized through the Nigerian polity in the first few days of the new year. Good afternoon, Mr. Otitoju, and welcome to Newsday Today. Yes. Yeah. We have so much to unpack here. This, this statement was very pregnant, but let's take it from the beginning. What are your initial thoughts? What was your initial response to this statement when you read it?
I just thought it wouldn't have been necessary for the presidency to reply the letter. And if I thought there was to be a response, it would have been signed by President Obasanjo's successor, that's the President Buhari. Because most of the things that the aides of the president write on behalf, are not seen by the president himself. And in military, there is always this esprit de corps, and dog don't bite dog. Okay, both of them have the background record of being military head of state in this country, and they have record of being civilian president with military background. So if there will be any response at all from the Shehu, the presidential aide, I think he will have, juggle it or in a way discuss it with Mr. President. Because Mr. President, from his characteristic, meme, you could say that actually he will have just waved it by, aside, because not necessary. If you want to compare both of them, it's Nigerian that can compare and contrast. And I'm old enough to compare the two regimes. If you take area of reforms, Obasanjo took financial reform and made it to a point that he was more or less the mirror to his peers in Africa, if not in the world. Then he took civil service reforms and made sure that actually, with it he was able to integrate all parts of the country by being fair in terms of appointment, and the appointments that were being, handled out of nepotism were subjected to civil service examination. You do exam, you pass, and you are placed. So all those things are there. Those are reforms. In the financial reform, the Central Bank Act of 2007, the Security and Exchange Commission Act of 2007, all these have really put, the financial sector in global level. Okay, now coming to Buhari, he too has taken electoral reform to be an area where he wants to leave legacy. And he's working, putting everything in place, dotting the I's and crossing the T's to make sure that he leaves the legacy of a good electoral form that we, engender, free, fair election, that we engender good governance. So they have their, merits and demerits, and they have their legacies. And this is what I think ought to be, sounded and, put to public by any aid that what it source, not abusing. You during your time, the aluminum smelter, this thing was sold at Patri some. During your time, there was corruption. All of them are guilty, because it's during this time that we are having the Accountant General of the Federation, taking about 109 billion naira from the kitty. Okay? Whereas during the Obasanjo reform, these were the things that were checked and put, so you don't, because none of them is clean. And when it comes to comparing, whether Buhari will leave after 2 terms, it's still after February this year that we can say that. Right now, we can't say that Obasanjo, was trying to have 3rd term. Yes, he was trying to have 3rd term, but Nigerians stopped him. Who knows? Buhari may wake up tomorrow and listen to his aides that still want to hold on to power and say, okay, let's juggle with something. It happened. It happened during Babangida. Babangida put everything in place, but when the other people, his aides and his contemporaries in the military, didn't want to leave. He said when he now was to leave, he said he stepped aside, okay, at the last minute. So until when Buhari leaves, come May 2023, this year, until when he leaves, we can still say he has outperformed Obasanjo in the 3rd term, debacle. So, I still believe that there are some things that shouldn't be left to, maybe the chief press secretary or the mouthpiece of the government, without the man that has the legacy plying through before it's rolled out. You can take Obasanjo on his letter because it was signed by him. You can't take Buhari on what Shehu, was the other name, rolled out, because it wasn't signed by Buhari. Okay? So.
Okay, well, that's a fair point. Now, I like that earlier you mentioned that nobody is clean. It reminds me of Obasanjo's letter where he did say that nobody is a saint. But is it fair for us to compare Obasanjo and Buhari based on the fact that one inherited a post-military state, a brand new democracy, if I may call it that, and one inherited a pretty established democracy? Is it not comparing apples and oranges, what can be achieved by both individuals within the same period of time because the environment was so different?
It's very wrong for him to draw comparison based on democracy. Because when Obasanjo came in, first thing he did was to sack all serving military with any iota of political ambition. Sack all of them. All of them, from major to general. It's only Obasanjo that could have done that and get away with it. And that is why you haven't heard him from the military. since 1999. Okay? Because no matter whose ox is gone, he made sure that he nipped it on the bud. That was the basis of our democracy this time around. Okay? And again, the first term of 4 years, he was moving around everywhere in the world to reintegrate Nigeria into, international community. And he even left the domestic or the home front to Atiku to handle, while he was trying to enshrine democracy and make sure that the whole world, accept Nigeria back, as against the successive military regimes. So it's wrong to compare the two of them. And again, in terms of administration of maybe the civil service, the political class, and handle even the military and whatever, we are here to compare and contrast. Maybe in terms of
infrastructure development, maybe?
In terms of appointment, either on defense or military or whatever, or appointment in even MDAs. You can compare the two and, draw your inference. Okay? So we are in Nigeria, and people who are 40 years and above can compare the two, So it's not to bamboozle us with the second Niger bridge.
All right.
That is yet to even be commissioned. Yeah.
Well, it's a pity to see two very senior statesmen, in this position, but we look forward to continuing this conversation with you, Mr. Otitoju.